Here we go. Sorry, it's been a few weeks, guys. Honestly, I am awful. Anyway, listen. Good evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocate. Lots of things going on at the moment. Obviously, rebranding, new faces, new season coming up. Obviously, we're playing Arsenal tomorrow. We've got our man Will, lovely Arsenal mate of mine, and we'll keep it clean. But obviously, great panel tonight. We'll be talking about obviously Bruno Fernandes getting the captaincy. We'll probably touch upon the signings. Obviously, with Onana being announced yesterday, was it day before, and a few other bits and pieces as well. But what a great panel! Get your comments in, guys. Get liking, get subscribing, all that jazz. Stu, it's been a few weeks, buddy. It's great to have you back on. I hope you're really, really well. Before I come to you, though, actually, I just want to say a couple of things. A close friend of ours a few weeks ago went through a very, very torrid time. It was kind of all over Twitter. Lots of us got involved. And I just want to kind of make the point that it's very, very important to talk. I know it's very, very difficult, particularly as a man, I think. And I think it's very, very important that if anybody is obviously going through any struggles, even if it's to reach out to us, your friends, your family, whatever that might be, it's extremely, extremely important. And obviously it all turned out okay in the end. But as I just said, I wanted to make that point. Right, Stu. With that out of the way, talk to me, man. How are you feeling? And are you going to be watching the game tomorrow? A bit of a late kickoff, isn't it? 10 p.m, so it might be a bit difficult for most.
Yeah, am I watching the game? No, because the good lady's got us out and about tomorrow night, which is good. But the other thing is the kids will be staying at the grandparents, so that's always a winner. So probably not. I'm not really overly fussed about friendlies pre-season. If I'm being honest, I mean, Phil will tell you he's been through more than most. They're just a way of getting your sharpness back. Although any player that loses their sharpness in the modern game with the lack of time that they have on holidays you wouldn't really expect it. So it's almost a continuation, isn't it, when the season finishes? But I think it's relatively pleasing to see what we've done. I was kind of on the fence about the Mount deal, but the more I've seen highlights of his play so far, I'm pretty pleased with that. I think that really elevates us probably to the second best midfield in the Premier League behind City. I think we're slightly better than Arsenal's. No disrespect to
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I think Arsenal made some great signings. I'll touch on that, but I still think we're a little bit more seasoned than perhaps than Arsenal are. I think Mount is fitted in quite well. As for the goalkeeper, it is what it is, isn't it? It's Onana style football is nothing new. I keep having this debate with people. They're saying, "Oh, modern day goalkeeper. Ooh, look at Alex Stepney. He used to roll the ball out. Gary Bailey used to roll the ball out. Schmeichel used to roll the ball out. It's nothing new. This type of play." I'm sure that a lot of the fans will really get excited about Onana. I do think he's probably comparable to Edison and Alisson. I think we have made a stellar signing in terms of goalkeeping, but I wouldn't be making a big deal out of it. Phil will, I'm pretty sure, touch on it. With the goalkeepers he's played with, they've all able to bring the ball out and start the play, which is what he's looking at, the progression side of it. So look, it's been nice to have a few weeks off. I have to say, it was a hectic season.
It was.
Crammed a lot in, and so I'm quite looking forward to Wolves now. I kind of get a bit impatient with pre-season. I like it to scuttle along quite quickly and quite nicely. So.
Yeah, we were saying backstage, I feel exactly the same. It is a bit of a nothing game. I think that you just have a bit of rivalry banter between yourselves, really. And obviously it's against Arsenal. As Helly says in the comments, there's no such thing as a friendly. And I think particularly when we play Arsenal, I'm sure the boys will be right up for that. And Eric Ten Hag said exactly that in his conference earlier. I'll be bringing up a few of those things. Nathan, great to have you back with us, buddy. I hope you're really well. Your thoughts on the Onana signing?
Reflecting a lot of what Stu was saying, really. I don't see much. What's the right way of saying it? I was disappointed about how De Gea ended. You know, I was a big supporter of his near the end of last season, where a lot of people were sort of saying, you know, he needs to go, the time's up and all that stuff. But, you know, I was still a big supporter. I mean, he was Golden Glove winner, for God's sake. You know, like, yeah, you can put a lot of that down to our defence and the fact that, yeah, he did make a few mistakes in some games, but I was still a big supporter. On the other hand, you know, Ten Hag knows the player. Apparently, they have had a bust up in the past, I heard. Apparently, they fell out.
They did. Yeah, they did. I think that was part of the reason why he didn't sign a new contract. Obviously, went to Inter last year.
Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah. So we'll have to see. But he does know him well, as you say.
But yeah, so I think for the modern day goalkeeper, the way it's sort of progressing that way, he's going to be able to play the ball out from the back a lot better than I think De Gea's distribution was slightly deteriorating towards the end. Even though his shot stopping, I still think on the whole was pretty good. But no, I'm pleased with the signing. You know, it got to the point where we were desperately needing a goalkeeper, and it just turned out that we managed to get a good goalkeeper, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think one thing I will say on Onana, and listen, you can take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, it's a new league. He's going to have to adjust, and this, that, and the other. I think you made some great points there, Nathan. Knows Erik ten Hag well, knows the philosophy, knows the system, will bring out the best. And I think if you look back even to the Champions League final, Man City weren't at their best, and that was partly due to the fact they tried to break the lines. Onana was there to build up the play, cut that, and then play the decisive passes through forward, which really carved City open. And if we see even just an ounce of that, with everything else that obviously is talked about, I think it is a good signing. And I think in today's market for 43 plus add-ons, I think it's a good deal for both parties. But I'm
signing is probably the best way of putting it. You know, that's the best we could have got for the money we wanted to spend.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Phil, great to have you back with us, buddy. I hope you're well. We were talking backstage, obviously a knee operation, starting to get back up on your feet, but I hope you mend as quickly as possible. Your thoughts really on sort of Mount as well, if you'd like, and Onana. What are your thoughts on those two?
Yeah, I think obviously two good signings. Mount in the midfield, as Stu touched on, I think, you know, with the energy that he's got, he likes to travel with the ball. I think he just gives us that little bit of added extra that we've not got, really. So I think, he's a good signing. Not one that most fans would probably be, you know, sitting on the edge of the seat looking at, you know, someone coming in who's going to, you know, catapult the team into a completely different team. But I think he's great for the squad. He'll add that bit of energy, and I think, you know, he's as I say, he's a different type of player to what we had, so I think that's a good sign in there. Onana, I think obviously, you know, what Nathan said there, just on De Gea quickly, I think, you know, he's been a great servant at the club. A little bit sad really with the way it ended for him, but yeah, you know, Ten Hag's obviously looking at, you know, the style of play, and I think Onana fits that with the sort of technical side of things. I think his distribution and the way he can start attacks off, and he's comfortable on the ball is obviously a lot more effective and efficient for the way the manager wants to play. So I think he's going to be a good signing. I think the only question marks I've got around him at this point is, you know, with the Premier League being a bit more physical, with some of the long balls maybe and crosses going into the box, will he be able to deal with that? But obviously that's yet to be seen, so we'll just have to see how that pans out. But yeah, as I said, two good signings, you know, two really good additions to the squad. I think obviously everyone still wants that centre forward to come through the door that's, you know, going to really, you know, make us in a good position to sort of challenge on all fronts.
Yeah, absolutely right. You made a good point actually about Onana. I think it is obviously a very different league. I was looking at a few stats, and obviously Stu would tell you stats don't always paint the whole picture. But his aerial success rate was 100%. Now, that doesn't tell the whole story, because a lot of crosses weren't put in where he needed to get that. And I think when you come up against a lot more sort of domination from the strikers, a lot more physicality, as you say, it might be a little bit different. But hopefully, as with all signings, they can adapt, they can get in bed, and that's not
one thing quickly,
issue.
Mark. One thing quickly on that fella. Controversially, you'd see a much better Maguire with an arm behind him. A much better Maguire. You would see a Maguire that could get back to concentrating on defending, which is what he does best. So you would see a better Maguire. So look,
I do agree,
obviously he knows what's happening with him. There's conjecture that he wants to go. Well, sorry, he wants to stay, and I even read that Ten Hag says stay. But
I saw that.
I think he needs a new challenge, but I do think you'd see a much better Maguire with somebody like Onana behind him.
Yeah, we did talk about this months ago. I think he is a bit of a scapegoat. I do think that he does a lot of things right. I think that he's unfortunate that he takes a lot of the brunt from the fans. And I think that with someone like Casemiro, we spoke about months ago, Stu, Maguire would be a far better player. Unfortunately for him, obviously Varane and Martinez have played those two and, been the mainstays, and he's not had that opportunity so much. We will see what happens. Just to kind of update you with that as well, I think a fee has been agreed for Anthony Elanga, 15 million to Nottingham Forest. There are talks as well about Henderson not going on a permanent now, which would be a tough one. I think we were kind of hoping for at least 20 million for him, and we need to kind of raise as many funds as we can. So we'll see how that goes. Will, as I said earlier, mate, great to have you with us, buddy. So we'll move on to obviously Arsenal for you. And are you happy with Rice and Havertz? Have you signed anyone else?
Timber.
Oh, of course, yeah. Wonderful player. Yeah. Really jealous about that one.
Nah, to be honest, I'm really happy with the signings. Now, the Rice one, it's 100% what we need. It's just, he's the perfect player of what I've been looking for years, but never thought we'd get back to the level where we'd be able to entice him. Now that he's in the squad, I think he'll just take us to that hopefully that next level. Timber, I think, will be brilliant, offers us so much tactical variety in the sense that he can do exactly what Zinchenko can do on the left-hand side and invert. So that means whether we can play with one of them and either side, whichever side we want to dominate more. And then even if we went 1-0 down, we can just make a change in the defensive side and bring the other one on and then pack out the midfield. It'll be brilliant. Not so sure on Havertz. Yet there's still upside. Yes, we haven't seen the best of him at Chelsea, but obviously I'd be one of the ones.
Seems to be in a bit of the firing line as well. I mean, I think everyone's sort of expectations. There was a lot of talk about his price tag and obviously the mistakes and finishing at Chelsea, and therefore is naturally in that limelight. Didn't probably perform at his best for Arsenal the other day, and I think probably unfairly in the limelight. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think, and I don't think he's in the limelight necessarily from most of our fans. I feel like it's Chelsea fans deliberately trying to get on his back because they've lost someone, and they'll do the same amount. They'll do the rest with everyone that kind of leaves to try and say, look, we're not the problem. It's these players that are the problem. But I always feel like there are some players in that environment at Chelsea that it just does not suit them, and when it goes bad, it goes horribly bad, like you saw there last season. Like Mount isn't a bad player that you picked up. I'd have rathered Mount than Havertz in order to play that left-hand centre midfield jacker role, as I said, but at the same time he wanted he's gone to Yi, that's perfect, so we've gone for Havertz, which will offer us a bit more height going up top as well as a plan B as well.
Yeah, great points, well made. Absolutely right. I'm going to come back to you, Will, on Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, Maguire, obviously not captain of United anymore. I want to get a rival perspective first. Bruno Fernandes, obviously now the new Manchester United captain. Lots been coming out. Ten Hag spoken very highly in the last couple of days in his press conferences. You, as a rival fan, would you agree with that? And what are your thoughts on that?
He's better than Maguire, and I understand why he's in. Personally, I always just see more of the negatives in his personality, in the sense that I look always, we have Odegaard when he was a captain, and when we were 2-0 down in one of the matches, he brought the band together against Bournemouth and drove everyone to winning. Whereas then I look at maybe Bruno, when you're 2-0 down, he loses the head a little bit more in terms of that aspect. And I get it, he's frustrated that nobody else is picking up maybe some of the slack, that he might be trying to work too hard on it. But I just think there's times that he can be negative. Don't get me wrong, he's still pretty much close to a top class player. I won't necessarily say world class, but he's a very, very good player and one of your best ones in the squad between him and Rashford. So I'm not going to say like he's bad, but I'm just iffy on the mentality side, but it's probably still the right choice. I couldn't see anyone else that would necessarily be better either.
Yeah, a fair point. Phil, wanted to come to you on that one. Do you agree? Anything you want to add to that? Are you happy with that sort of appointment?
Yeah, I think it's the right decision. I think for me, you look at the squad. Bruno pretty much plays every game. You want someone who's going to be in the squad all the time, and I think Bruno's one of them who's never injured. He's always there. He leads by example on the way that he never gives in. I think his attitude and from rival fans and other opposition fans sometimes can come across as maybe him being a little bit petulant or spitting the dummy out. I think for me that is true on occasions. I have seen times when I think he shouldn't have done whatever, but I think for me that's just his passion. He's passionate about the game. He hates losing. When people make mistakes, I think he takes it upon himself to make that his job to sort of G them up a little bit. And yeah, I think for me he's one of our most influential players, so I think it's a good appointment. As I say, he's been one of our best signings, certainly in recent times, with his numbers, his goals and assists. And, as I say, he's always available for selection. So, yeah, I think it's a good decision. And as I say, a lot of the younger players and sort of even the seasoned pros sort of look up to him and have that respect. So, for me, it was a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Nathan, are you feeling the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely the same. The only other player I probably would have given it to is Rashford, but being centre of the park, in that position, Bruno really got the guys say that he's got the influence. He's got the voice, and he's always the first one to throw his arms up in the air when stuff is going wrong. So now he's got to take the brunt of it when it does go wrong, because he's the one that's pulling the strings in that midfield.
Yeah, absolutely right. Stu, I know that you're probably going to have a different perspective on this, hence why I left you last, but go ahead, my man.
Yeah, how do I answer this one? Look, for a skipper, Bruno ticks all the boxes. There's no two ways about it, but I'm a big believer and a long believer that as a player, you should never look to an individual for inspiration. Your inspiration should come from yourself. And that's I've always played personally. And Marc will giggle at this. I step over that white line and I don't give a fuck who wears the armband, quite frankly. I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, my segment, my area of the pitch, and making sure that I'm as tight as I can possibly be, and that nobody can, at the end of the game, point the finger at me that I've made mistakes. I'm also in the camp that I want to be looking across to my right and to my left and to in front of me and to the rear, and I'm seeing the same type of energy and personality who also doesn't give a fuck who's wearing the armband. I actually think it's more symbolic nowadays than what it was when I was growing up through the 70s and the 80s. It was a really big thing, and the 90s being a skipper. Today, it's and I take everybody's point, and I'm not arguing against any of that. It's just what I perceive to be a non-essential part of the team, really. And I've always been that way. I mean, I was captain of the school team and junior teams, and I was like, I thought I was Billy Big Bollocks at the start, and then you just realise once you're on there, you're concentrating. You want everybody talking to you. You want everybody communicating, everybody shouting, screaming. And at the end of the day, you dust yourself off if you make a mistake and you carry on. And it's up to you to play yourself back into the game. It's not for your skipper. You should never, ever have to look at your skipper to get that kind of re-energization, so to speak. You need to do it yourself. And that's my only viewpoint with it. I can't argue with what you say, any of you, about Bruno's attributes, but Phil knows what I mean. I mean, Phil's played at a much higher level than me, and he knows what I mean. You've got to have to concentrate on your own game, don't you, Phil?
I agree with you. As you say there, you should have 11 captains out there. Everyone should be pulling the weight. And for me, as you say, the captaincy's sort of lost its little bit of edge. You know, when you think back to your Roy Keanes of the world, you know, and people like that, you know, iconic captains who led by example in every single way. Nowadays, because the game's changed a little bit, I think, as you say, you need all the players to be pulling the weight and just, you know, giving 100% no matter what.
Yeah, I mean the modern day player, guys. You know, if Keano or Schmeichel or Brucey, Pallister, Cantona, you know, they started screaming at a player, he'd start bawling his eyes out. He'd be in a corner crying like a little baby. You know, you don't need that. You can't have that. You've got to have. As I say, football starts with yourself first and foremost. You get yourself right, and then you know you gel yourself into the team, and you look around, and you think, you know what? If I get into a spot of bother, I've got Marshy behind me, or I've got Smudger to my right, and I'm okay. I'm all right, you know. And that's how I look at it. You see.
I think a big thing as well is just quickly on that is because the sort of aggressive nature has been taken away from the game, you know, with tackles going up for headers and really, you know, showing that dominating, you know, passion and stuff. I think because that's gone out of the game and obviously VAR, I think that's where we have lost that little bit of, you know, a captain and what he should be and what he should look like. I think, as you say,
it's a very good point.
It's just, you know, because there's so much around it and people are probably fearful of getting sent off and all that kind of thing. It's lost its edge. But yeah, I think obviously Bruno is the right way forward for me, as I said, just purely based on the fact that he'll be on the pitch a lot more and he's a regular and, you know, he's someone who does have a lot of respect in the camp.
Yeah, absolutely right. Helly, good to have you with us, by the way. For those of you watching, obviously loads of you on Twitter, come over to @AdvocateDevils_. This is something we're gonna have to get used to. YouTube, obviously, and come and like and subscribe. We can't see your comments on Twitter. Be good to have you with us. But those of you here, obviously, like and subscribe. Helly makes great points here as well, which you've kind of all alluded to. Really, the skipper these days is really one that speaks to the ref. We've got numerous other players who will speak up on the pitch, and I think we're seeing that more and more now. He's slowly sort of bringing in players that have that kind of leadership quality. You do need several on the pitch, and obviously Phil quite rightly said, really you want 11 captains. I think he's absolutely right. I think you need everyone to be vocal. You know, you think, you know, back to the days where everyone was in the ref's face all the time, you know, something gone against them, whatever it might be, or perhaps a penalty really sort of helped our case. And you do get that a little bit less and less now, obviously, because of VAR and the less of physicality and all that kind of thing. But I think it's important. My take on it is a concern that he whinges. But I think that if you look back to Roy Keane, Nemanja Vidic, and several other players, that would be classed as whinging these days. Okay. And I think that obviously he does get some cards for petulance. I think that now he's the captain and he's the one that's able to vocalise himself for the rest of the team to the ref. It might mean that he probably gets less cards for that. I think that's obviously a positive. And I think that, you know, he always holds himself really, really well in conferences. You know, he's always saying the right thing. He's not scared of saying, you know, a negative and pointing something out to someone if he feels that it's necessary. And I think that that's an incredibly important thing. He very rarely misses any games. Lots of minutes last season, ridiculous minutes in the top 5 leagues. And I think that's really, really important. I think fundamentally, he understands what Manchester United is about. And I know that's a very bizarre thing to say, and all rival fans would be, oh, you know, Man United, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, you need someone in that does understand what the club is about, that does understand how things work and obviously bring a lot to the table. And I think that he does. And I think it's a good appointment. I really, really do. And I wasn't surprised when that happened. I don't know who's deputy captain, to be honest with you. I have absolutely zero idea. But as Stu says, when you cross the right line, it don't matter. Right.
Just quickly, Mark, I think what they do now as well is they have a captain's group. So that there's 4 or 5 senior players that are kind of your go-to skippers, one for a better terminology. So I think they have this captain's group. So I'm not so sure, Helly, if there is a specific vice captain. I think you'll probably find underneath Bruno, there's, I don't know, Varane, Casemiro, Rashford, and another player that, you know, players can go to and things of that nature. So I don't think there's a specific single vice captain.
Yeah, absolutely right. Right, let's move on to Arsenal. And obviously, Will, I'm going to come to you about this first and foremost. I just want to sort of touch upon, obviously, Mikel Arteta. First of all, I saw something today, actually, that was tweeted about the fact that he was going to naturally potentially take over from Arsene Wenger when he was still in. There was a lot of talks about that. That obviously didn't happen. He went to Man City, came back. Do you think that that was the right thing to happen? Do you think that it would have been maybe as successful as it possibly has been if he didn't have that sort of stepping stone first?
I don't know. He was always going to be a talent. That was always pretty much known. That's why you look at it. Pochettino was interested in him. Arsene Wenger was interested in him. Pep Guardiola obviously was interested and got him. So it was pretty obvious that there was some talent there. I don't know if he'd have been able to command the environment and necessarily get the right amount of staff in if he had gone straight in after becoming, basically leaving playing and becoming a manager. I don't think he necessarily would have had the correct tools, or if the fan base even would have had the correct tools to get in behind him. I feel like it was just, when he came in, it was kind of the right man with the right attitude at the right time. There was a mix of still some animosity, and COVID definitely helped him get extra time.
Yeah.
But I feel like we just gave him enough time and it just kind of worked. And if he came straight in at that time, it wouldn't have. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I think, if I'm honest with you, listen, us as rival fans will always jump on it and step in and obviously be critical. But we can't on one hand say that managers need to be given time, they need to be given the right resources, and then turn around on the other hand and say Arteta hasn't been given that. You know, he needed that same time. And I think really from the outside in, if I'm being neutral about it, I think he has done a great job. I think a lot of money has obviously been spent. But, you know, that's what a club should be doing in order to adhere to what, you know, the players that they need. But I think that he is doing very well. On that note, and I want anyone else to jump in after this, after Will, I'm going to ask him this first. But with the money that's been spent, I think it's over 575 since he come in. I don't want to sort of, it's not about the numbers, you know, the market is very, very disjointed at the moment and players cost a lot of money. But do you think this is even more of an important season for him? Because I think a lot of rival fans certainly will be looking at it and thinking, right, he spent this money. They did well last season, got second place. Does he need to do more than that in order to keep his job? Because we know what football's like. It's very fickle. Do you think he needs to at least have a trophy this season?
Look, it's hard to weigh up 100%. I'd say personally, if we don't win a trophy this season, I'll be quite annoyed. Like, I honestly think we need to win a trophy. And honestly, right now, I want us to win the Premier League. Like, that's not even a joke. I know Man City's a tough challenge. We should have won it last year. We've improved on the squad depth massively by bringing in these three players. Yeah. But we've got to go and win the league. Like, there is no other option. And yeah, if Man City pip us to it, then, and we've not won anything else, then you can go, damn it, we're letting this slip in a bad way. But at the same time, hold your heads up high. Put on a good challenge across all fronts at least, because we need to keep on seeing some sort of improvement, in my opinion. But look, I really want a trophy this year.
Yeah, I think that's absolute minimum, to be honest with you. I think regardless of what City are doing in the summer, moving very well, by the way, signing the players very quickly, and seem to go under the radar completely, it is always going to be very, very difficult to keep up with them. But I think based on last season, doing as well as you did, that has to be the foundation. And I think that he will become very much under fire if he doesn't at least get trophies. You're saying you have to be challenging.
The other thing is we have to be a bit more worried is like he's only got after this year like one more year left on his contract. So like if he sees the players just constantly letting him down, who's to say that he isn't just going to walk into Man City to replace Pep? And that is worst case scenario for everyone.
Yeah. We've had this conversation a few times, and I do think that if Arsenal don't play their cards right, I think he could well step into Pep's role when he finishes. I think that's absolutely a possibility. Phil, do you agree with Will? Do you think that they really have to be challenging this year, at least getting a trophy?
I think, yeah, obviously after last season, it's the next step is winning the trophy. For them, I think they was brilliant last year for sort of 3/4 of the season, and then just sort of tailed off at the back end of the season. And obviously City was relentless, but it's a difficult one to gauge for me, really, because of the contrasting couple of seasons that you've had. Obviously last year being so good, bringing in new signings. The next step for Arsenal obviously would be then to win a trophy. Being the Premier League would be the main one they would be looking at. But I'm just not convinced really that's going to play out that way. I think you've seen other teams who've strengthened. We're going to be up there. You've got Chelsea. You've got a lot of signings there who didn't gel at all last year. They're going to obviously want to come and have a really good year this year. It's going to be difficult for them really to sort of be in a similar position for me. I mean, they might prove me wrong on that, but just looking at it from the outset, I think last year, because of how well they did, I think that is maybe a little bit of an anomaly for where they probably was.
Yeah, I agree.
On the chart of where they was heading. But as you say, they have made some great signings. Declan Rice is a fantastic signing. He'll be a massive plus for them, and I think that definitely solidifies that midfield. I think they just need the big players to carry on with, like Saka last year was outstanding.
Very good,
magnificent. They managed to do half a season without Jesus, which was brilliant. So if he can hit the ground running, then they've got every chance really of being up there. It's just as I say, with all the other teams strengthening as well, I think it's going to be difficult for them to sort of be in and around it and maybe Pip City or one or two others to the post. But again, I can see him winning a trophy. I can see him winning a trophy, maybe the FA Cup or something like that, which again wouldn't be the worst season.
No, I agree. And you made a good point, actually. I think 2 seasons ago, there was so much expectation on Arsenal and Pep, and they didn't deliver. However, last season, there was absolutely no expectation. And then, of course, they come out of nowhere, going on these wonderful runs, playing some wonderful football. And I think it just kind of takes you by surprise, really, doesn't it? Stu, Nathan, either one of you, are you in agreement there?
Yeah, Phil put it pretty eloquently. I'm with Phil on this. I don't think you're trophy ready yet, Will. And I've got a couple of reasons for that. And one is you're pretty comparable to us, really, in as much as you're still lacking backbone. And we as a club, we're lacking backbone as well, and spine of real aggression in our team. As good as Casemiro is, he's not this real, aggressive player that we have. And one of the things City do so well is dainty. And as exceptional they are as talented footballers, they've got a bit of bite and a bit of fight to them. Now, I don't know whether Rice will give you that fight. I don't know whether Timber will give you that fight. I have to say, Timber's been your best signing so far. I'm really jealous about that.
Me too.
In fact, I'm fuming about it. He's a great, great defender, and he'll be very, very well. And Rice is an exceptional talent as well. Where Arsenal have got their problems is you're massively talented individually, but you couldn't quite put it together constructively. And I think this season, I would judge you more on your consistency, as Phil says. Can you get to second again? Or can you, because I don't think you're equipped to win the title, just as I don't think we're equipped to win the title yet. I don't think Liverpool are equipped to win the title, or Chelsea. But these teams will evolve, and we will certainly evolve, and we will be closer to you this year, maybe even in front of you this year. I'm not being, I'm not taking a piss or just having a stab. I just, that's the way I view football, and I just think that as a collective, you're not quite there, but as a bunch of individuals, I mean, I think Odegaard's a wonderful talent.
Yeah, very good.
I think he's absolutely flourished at Arsenal. Saka is dangerous. I think you're going to see a different Havertz. If he took his goal pretty well in the MLS All-Stars, didn't he? Chested it down, left foot finish. It was a really good finish, that was. I think you'll see a different Jesus. You've lost where you will actually be better, you've lost the unpredictability of Xhaka. Is he going to stay on the pitch or isn't he going to stay on the pitch? And that's not him being aggressive. It's just him being an absolute tool. Not understanding when to make the tackle and when not to make the tackle. And actually don't do it two-footed, because you're not going to stay on the field. So for me, I just don't think you're equipped yet, but I think you're on the right trajectory with Arteta, and I do think you need to keep him for sure. I think he's this new breed of manager, and I think yes, he's learnt from Guardiola, no two ways about it. But he's got his own style, and look, Eric Ten Hag has learnt from Guardiola, but he's got his own style, and it'll be interesting to see who is really going to push it over the line, who's going to take the snowball and roll it 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 until it becomes half a mountain, so to speak. And I think we are the best equipped to do that at the top four from last season. No disrespect, Will, but that's just how I look at it, mate.
Do you want to say anything on that, Will? Do you agree? Or
no, I don't know. Like, I understand United have gotten a bit better, but I just think squad depth wise, it's still lacking.
Yeah.
Personally, I think like you still haven't gotten the striker in, so you need that. In reality, I think then if he gets injured, you still need like another striker there. You may need another right winger other than Anthony if you're going to get rid of Sancho. Your midfield is definitely your strongest areas there, but probably need even another right back. It's where I just feel like you'd have the facilities to do it if once the takeover comes in, maybe next season, I feel like you'll be better. I think this season is a step too far for United, in my opinion. I think it will still be racing kind of. It'll be between Tottenham, maybe Chelsea and Liverpool. I think for the top four places, for like third and fourth, is how I feel. Because when I look at everyone else's squads, I can't see the same amount of quality even in depth. Even watching us just in preseason, they're already looking so sharp. It's like I'm so shocked about how good they are still. And I think people just forget that. Mm-hmm. And it's because the pressure is off at the moment. And that's why at the start of the season...
But could we not say the same? I absolutely agree with you. I think everyone was taken by surprise for both teams. Okay. And on the same breath, do you think that perhaps Arsenal are in that same boat? That I think they gave a lot more than what people were expecting. So could it be just a honeymoon season for them as well?
Don't forget, Mark, we got stuffed 4-0. Against Brentford, we looked dynamite.
Yeah,
last pre-season. I think we did one goal, didn't we? And then we got stuffed 4-0 at Brentford.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about it. I just feel like people still won't expect it from us. People won't expect it from us until we actually go out and win something. That's my honest opinion. We're always more of an underdog team, and honestly, I love that. I would much rather be the underdog than the overdog. Give me chances to prove everyone wrong and then say, yes, we've done it as a great collective fan base. It just makes people stronger. And I think that's how most of the management would rather see it as well for us.
Yeah. Good points. Well made, everybody. Nathan, obviously any extra thoughts on that? And then I want to ask you who finishes higher next season, United or Arsenal?
100% we will. I definitely think we will.
Yes.
No bias involved here.
There's a little bit. I think that the element of what Arsenal accomplished last season cannot be overshadowed by the fact that they thought they won the league in January, which they didn't. So as much as I respect what they did, and obviously they did a lot better than we did, I think this season we're much more... If we can get one more signing, whether that be a striker or just something just to give out an extra dynamite, I think we could quite easily concrete second place easily. I still think City are the team to beat, and I think they will be until Pep goes, unfortunately. So I think we'll concrete on second. And as much as I haven't got an issue with Arsenal, apart from the fact that everything about them, but
love that. He said that so coolly.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay, it was funny.
United, Arsenal. I think that's on it, and then Newcastle because we can't have the Scousers in the top 4 again. That'd be nice.
There you go. I love that. Cool, calm, and collected. Says it how it is. No bullshit. Phil, who finishes higher?
Yeah, I agree with Nathan. I do think United will finish above Arsenal. Although I am intrigued really with the way Arsenal are going to do this year. I'm interested because, as I say, it was sort of conflicting seasons. This year, I think they sort of maybe overachieved a little bit from what everyone would have expected. So it just depends on how the new signings settle in and whether they can carry that form on. Which I'm the jury's out on that for me. I'm not 100% convinced. Whereas I think United, we was consistent last year. We was in all the cups. We had a busy schedule, and we still managed to, come out the season with a trophy and a decent top 4 finish. So I just think with the way it's gone and sort of if we can get this centre forward, certainly I think we will certainly finish above them. But yeah, it's still to be seen. I'm sort of interested really with Arsenal. Arsenal, I think, is the most sort of unknown what's going to happen with them. Yeah, I think if you look at all the teams and you're sort of wondering how they're going to get on, I have no idea what Arsenal are going to be like this year after last year. I know obviously they'll be up there and thereabouts, but I'm still not convinced whether they will be challenging like they did last year.
Yeah, good points. Well made. I've just seen this comment here. I haven't seen anything on Cavani. How true is this? Anyone else seen this?
He's left. Was it Valencia? Who was that?
Yeah, he wasn't in the plans. They've gone on a pre-season tour and he's been left out. So
He's
going somewhere on a free.
Who would be happy with that if he came back as a sort of bit part? Not all at once.
100%. I'd definitely have him back.
Yeah.
Score goals. Goals. It's as sharp as anything in the 6-yard box.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one that needed to be in the positions we needed him to be just to get those goals.
Yeah. I think we went so long, really, with Rashford and Martial since Ibrahimovic, we forgot what number 9 was, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then obviously you saw Cavani come in, really sort of bring that back and made us realise. Go on, Stu.
That's because the so-called new number 9 doesn't look like Edison Cavani, doesn't look like Ruud van Nistelrooy. They don't look like Erling Haaland really to an extent. I know, he's coming and scored all these goals, etc. But they're slowly but surely migrating towards it because all this nonsense, by the way, Pep Guardiola doing the old false number 9. Well, that was rubbish because that was in from the 70s. Alan Ball played as a false number 9 once or twice for Everton, and Stuart Pearson was a very, very short mobile striker, who didn't necessarily play off the front line all the time. So it's all this modernism. It's rubbish, really. It's just an evolution of what's come before. But having somebody like Cavani, the problem that we've got. And and I've said this before, Mark. If you're a striker, you should live, from the penalty spot onwards. 12 yards is your area. That's where you should live, eat, and drink. We don't cross the football. we don't cross the football. We don't cross the football. Ruud van Nistelrooy would have pulled his locks out, his long locks. He would have gone absolutely mental at the lack of service that's coming in. I was watching. Somebody posted in our group chat earlier a picture of Stevie Coppell, and he was direct, bang. He would beat his man and whip his cross in, and that's almost how you've got to get back to playing. If we are going to play with these two wider players who aren't natural wingers but are offering us width, we've got to get that ball whipped in, and we've got to get it in quickly.
Yeah.
If we do get a Harry Kane or this Højlund guy, we've got to feed him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely right. Right, going to end the show very, very shortly, guys. Just want to say, Stu, Nathan, Phil, and Will, really appreciate you coming on tonight. It's Friday night. Obviously, we've got a weekend ahead. Enjoy it. I just want to quickly, very, very quickly, you guys give me score predictions for tomorrow. Not that it matters, but a bit of fun, and we can then review it and see who was the closest. Phil, I'll come to you first, my man. Oh, you're on mute, buddy.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I said I'm going to go for a draw, 1-1. I think both teams, obviously, as we've said, results don't really matter in pre-season. I think it's going to be our toughest game up to now. Obviously, looked well up to now. I think some of the younger players have shown up really well. As we've said, it's just about getting your fitness and your sharpness. So yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I think, as I say, it'll be a biggest test up to now. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. Will, over to you.
To be honest, I'm going to say 3-1 Arsenal. I think it'll go 1-0 at half time. I think we'll just about pip it, and it'll be a very close match. Then when you start seeing the rotations around, when the substitutions happen, I feel like our second 11 then will be just a bit more dominant and win that 2-1.
Yeah. Okay. Nathan, over to you, buddy.
0-0, couldn't care less.
Says it like a true man. There you go. Stu, over to you.
I think it'll be a draw as well, actually. I think it'll be 2-2 draw. But I'm going to have it to let the bar twice. And we'll probably have about 12 chances we'll miss that we should have scored. So, but I think it'll be 2-2 draw. I actually think we'll dominate the play. I think we'll be just that little bit sharp and we'll dominate the play. But I don't really care either. Like Nathan, I don't really care.
No. I feel like we all feel the same. Will is shaking.
No matter what, though, it can't be as bad as the last pre-season last summer when we absolutely packed Chelsea 4-0.
There you go. We love a little bit of Chelsea.
Great omen of the season.
We love a bit of Chelsea slander. Right, listen, guys, as I said, I really appreciate all of you. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Really appreciate you coming in. Enjoy your weekends if you get the opportunity to watch it. And I know Hammer in the comments, he's got a ticket to watch them live tomorrow. So, Hammer, if he is, so enjoy. I hope you have a great time and enjoy. As I said, we'll be bringing you more shows, probably do a few more previews. There are no reactions. We will be bringing you other things, but until the new season starts, we won't be doing the reactions. But anyway, great to have you all in. Really appreciate your time and enjoy your weekends.